Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Imaginary Engineering. This is Kirti. In this video we are going to build food recipe app. For the backend I am using the Express.js, Node.js and MongoDB as a database, and for the front end I am using the React.js. So in this video you will learn user authentication, MongoDB setup, then how you can authorize the user using the JWT token, then we will create the middleware to verify that token, then hashing password. If you are beginner, then this video is really gonna help you. This will be the simple project and I will divide that project into the multiple parts. So this is our first part and I will upload the next part soon. So let's start. First I will show you the project and then we will start. Let's go to the browser. So this is our food recipe app. On home page we have list down all the recipes which we have in our database. If I go inside that, we can see the image, ingredients, instruction, all the recipe details we can see here. Also username, who created that recipe. Now let's go back and I'm adding the new recipe. So click on that share your recipe button. Here it's asking for email and password because currently we are not login, so we are not able to add any recipe. First we need to log in. If I click on any URL, so I'm not able to redirect also, so first we need to log in. So let me log in. First I will show you the database. Here we have the some recipe items in our recipe table, and in our user table we have some users. So let me log in with this git2@gmail.com. I will enter the email and password. Let me enter the wrong password and click on the login. Now here we are getting the message invalid credentials. Now I am entering the right password. Click on the login. You can see now we have that logout option and username who is login right now. Then on my recipe we can see these three recipes, and favorites we don't have anything right now. We have the edit and delete option here. If I go to the home page, here we have this recipe. If I click on this heart icon and make it as a favorite recipe, if I go to the favorite, here you can see this dry fry is favorite recipe. Let me click on more pizza. Now we have the three items here. If I go to the home, let me remove it from the favorite. Now if I go here, we have only one recipe, paneer, in our favorite list. Now if I log out and again I will create the new user. So click on this create new user, enter the email, let's say gita@gmail.com, and I am entering the password 12345. Click on the sign up. Now here you can see the gita@gmail.com and logout option. If I go to the my recipe, currently we don't have any recipe. On home page we can see all the recipes that we have. So let's create the new recipe. I will copy this title pancake and paste it here. Then we have the time, let's say 40 minutes. Ingredients I will just copy and paste here. Then we have the instructions. I will copy and paste it here. Then choose the file. I will choose one image. Click on add recipe. Here we can see this new recipe has been added. If I click on that, you can see all the recipe details with the username, who created that recipe. Now if I go to the home, then I will go to under this my recipe tab. We can see our recipe we have added. Now we can edit and delete in recipe here. So I will edit that recipe. I will rename the title and say cake. Also I will rename the time to 60 minutes and choose the another image. Here I will choose the choco cake and click on edit recipe. Here you can see the image, title, time has been updated. Also we can delete the recipe by click on that delete icon. Let me click on it. Now we don't see that cake here anymore. If I go to the my recipe, here also I don't see any recipe. let me make it favorite, die, fry and pizza. If I go to this favorite tab, here we have list down all our favorite recipes. So this is our overall application. So let's go to VS Code and start the coding part. Here I have two folders, backend and frontend. Currently this is empty. So we will start from backend. Let's go to that folder, backend. And first we will generate our package.json file. So npm init -y. Here package.json file is generated. Now next we want to install the Express. npm I Express. It will install the Express. Here you can see under dependency Express has been installed. Then I will install the nodemon. So whenever we made any changes, that server will automatically restart. We install the nodemon as a dev dependency because we don't need it in a production. So here nodemon is installed. Now next I will create a server.js file. This is empty right now. Now we go to the package.json. Here I will rename this to server.js. Now add a script dev :nodemon server.js. Now we have done. Now we go to the server and we will create a Express server. So first I will require the Express. We have already installed the Express. Define one variable and call the Express. Then we will define the port, but before that I will create a .env file, and inside this .env file we will define the port. I will give the 5000. Now we go to the server.js and here we define the port cons port equal to, and we will read it from the .env file. So we will say process.env.port, and if it is not available, port is not available in env, then we will say 3000. Then we call the listen method and we'll pass our port number, and it will take one callback function. Inside that callback function I will simply console log the port number in which our app is running. So I will say app is listening on port, and we'll simply display the port number. Sorry, I have made a mistake here. Let me correct it. Now we are done. So let's run this app. For that command is npm run dev, not in capital, npm run dev. Now it's started, server is started, it's listening on port number 3000. You can see it's not taking the value from .env. .env we have the port 5000. So for that what I will do, we will install one package .env. So let me go to the backend folder and we will install the .env, npm i.env. Now we go to the server and we will require that .env package, and it has one method config, and we call that config method here. Now if we go here, you can see now it's taking the value from .env. Now app is listening on port 5000. Now next we will create method get. We give the path slash and function, callback function request response, and here I am simply sending the one JSON response.json message, let's say hello. And for this API testing I am using the one extension Thunder client. Here I will show you, I have already installed, you can install it. Click on this new request and here we will enter our URL. Let me remove the yes colon localhost 5000 because our app is running on 5000 port, and click on send. Here we get the response message hello, means it's working properly. So now we go back to server, and first I will create a new folders for our routes. Inside that route we will manage our all the routes. Recipe.js, first we will require the Express. Then we need a router, so let's create a router equal to express dot router. Then we come back to our server.js and we will copy this method, cut this method from here and go back to our router recipe.js, and I will paste it here. Here we don't have the app, we will use the router. Then we will export this router. We can have the more routes, so it always a good practice to keep it in a separate folder, and this function also we will keep it in a separate folder. So let's create a folder, another folder controller, in which we will handle our response, and inside that I will create a recipe controller.js. let's say recipe.js, and here we will declare the method get recipe. I will go to our routes and I will cut this function and copy this here, simple, and then I will export that get recipe function so we can use it in another file. So let's go to our server.js file, because we need to provide the path app.use, and we'll provide the path our endpoint recipe, and we'll require it from the route folder. We have the recipe.js. So inside the route folder we have the file recipe. Now we go to our Thunder client. Before that I have forget to pass the method here we have created in controller get recipe. We import it from the controller. Now let's test our API, our endpoint recipe. Here you can see we have given the recipe as endpoint. Click on send. We are getting the message, means everything is working fine. So we go back and we will create our another routes. So this route we will use for get all the recipes. Then we have the route, another get route to fetch the individual recipe by ID. So in path we will pass the dynamic ID and call the method get recipe, and this get recipe method we haven't yet created in our controller. We will create it. Then next route for add recipe post method. Then we will pass the method add recipe. This route is for add recipe. Now next route to edit recipe. So we have the put method and we'll pass the path colon ID. We need the ID. Then edit recipe method. This method will update the recipe. Then we have the another route for delete recipe. In URL we will pass the ID in which recipe we want to delete. Then delete recipe method we will call. This route is for delete the recipe. Now we have all this method, but we haven't declared it in our controller. So let's declare it here. I will copy this and paste it. We will rename that method name add recipe. Then we have the edit recipe, and then we have the delete recipe. Let's import all these, export. we go to our routes, and here we will require all the methods from controller. We have the get recipe, then add recipe, edit recipes, and delete recipes. Let me remove this yes. Yeah, here we don't have the yes. Then we go back to our controller. Actually we are getting error. Yeah, so let me remove that yes from here also. Add recipes, not recipes, I want add recipe. Let me remove it from here also. Now we are done. You can see no error right now. So these are all our routes for recipe. Now first we will create see how we can connect our application to database. So we will create a new folder config. Inside that config we will create one file connection db.js. First we need to install the Mongoose, so let's go to our terminal and install it. It will take some time. So after install, first we will require that Mongoose here, const. In basically here we are connecting our application to the database. Then we will define the method connectDB equal to, I will make it async. Then await, we will call the method. Mongoose has the method connect. It will take the connection string. So let's go to our .env. Here we will define the new variable connection string. This is our MongoDB URL. I will show you. So this is the MongoDB compass. Here I will copy this connection string. MongoDB /localhost, it's running on 27017, and this food recipe, this is our database name, food recipe. Now this is the connection string. I'm copying and go to our connection DB and I'm paste it here, process.env.connection string, then then, and here I will simply console log one message to make sure our database is connected. Now then we will export this connectDB so we can use it in another file. We'll go to our server and we call this method here. First we need to require that method from connectionDB. Inside the config folder we have that connectionDB.js file. Now we simply call that method here connectDB. Now if we go and check, here we get the message connected, means our database is successfully connected. So next we will create a folder for models. We basically define our schema, table schema here. So inside the model I want the recipe schema, so create a file, let's call it recipe.js. Then first we will require the Mongoose. Here we will basically define our table schema and what are the columns we want inside that table. Const recipe schema, let's call it recipe schema equal to Mongoose. It has one method schema. It will take the object, and also I will make the timestamp true. I will show you these. Then we want a column title. to store the recipe title, and the type will be string, and I want this title required, so we will make the required true. The next I will copy this and paste. After title we have the field ingredients, then we have the instructions, then I will take another column called a time. So basically that will store the time that required for that recipe, 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Then we have the cover image. This is basically recipe image. All thing is done. Now we will export this module.export. We'll Mongoose have the method model. We call it and pass the our table name. This recipe is actually table name, and pass our recipe schema here. Now we are done. So we will go back to our controller recipe, and first we will see how we can add the recipe. So we will destructure all the things we get from the request body. We'll get the title, ingredients, then we have the instructions, time, and the cover image. We will see the image part later. So for now I will just keep it request.body. Then we will check if that required field should not be empty. So first we check here this whether this title, ingredients, instructions are empty or not. If I go to our model, here you can see this title, ingredients are required, but I don't want this time and cover images required, so I will remove that. We come back here and we check if that required field is empty or not. If it is empty, then we will simply send one message: required fields can't be empty. Now next we will save this in database. Create variable new recipe await, and for that to store in database we need that variable model. So recipes equal to require. We have the inside the model folder we have the recipe schema, so we get that in the variable recipes. We will use that recipes. It has a method dot create. This will create the now title. I will simply copy this, and we want to pass all these things. I will make this function async. It will return the newly created recipes, and then we will return this new recipe in JSON. So we are done. So let's go back to our Thunder client and test this. First select the method post. Now go to the body, and here JSON body. So I have some fake data here. I will copy this and paste it here. Here you can see we pass the title, ingredient, instruction, and click on the send. Here I'm getting the error. So error is title request body is undefined. So yeah, first we have to use that express.json, so it will be extract the JSON data, because we are sending the JSON data in request body. So click on send. Still I'm getting error, so let me restart the server and then we will click on send, but still I'm getting the error in instructions. So let's go to the model. Maybe there is a spelling mistake here. Instruction R is missing, my bad. So let's go back and check. Click on send. Here we get the data 200, status, title, ingredients, instruction. So it means it's working fine. So now let me add the another item. So let me go back. Here I am copying this second item, copy and paste it in a request body. Here title, ingredients, instruction, time, all these things, and click on send. Now here we are getting the response 200 and all the things. So now we have the two items. Now next we will see this get recipes. So for that we have the method find. So await recipes dot find, it will return all the items which are present in database. I will make it a string and simply I will return the recipes as a response, all the recipes. So now let's go back and check this. If I show you this get recipes on slash, so this is a get method, so I will change, click on the same. Here we are getting the response two item. We have the two item in database, so we are getting the right response. So let's check the next thing, get recipe. It will send the recipe by id. So we'll define one variable recipe equal to, and we use the method find by id. This method will take the id as an argument. So we'll fetch that id. First I will make it a string. This is we will fetch that id from the URL parameter. So request.params.id, it will return the id, and we will send the JSON recipe. We will send the recipe as a response. So now here is the URL /:id. So I will copy this id and add it here. Click on send. Here you can see I am getting the response, correct response. Here I am getting the particular item. So we go back. Now we have seen the add recipe, get recipe. So next we will see how we can edit the recipe. So first I will copy this all the things. Basically we destructure all the request.body body. Then first we check if that recipe is present or not. For that we have the find by id method I will use, and we'll pass the id request.params.id, and I will make it this method a string. If that recipe is present, then we will edit that recipe. If recipe is present, then we will say await, use the method find by id and update. So we have the method find by id and update. We will call it. So now first we will pass the id request.params.id, then updated request.body, updated data we want to send, and then third parameter is new. I will make the new true. So this will update the data, and we'll send the response.json. This updated thing I will send. So I will just copy all these things and paste it here. Title, ingredients, instruction. So if user use the wrong id, so we will get an error. To handle that error, I will put this in a try catch block. So in catch block we will handle that error. So return response. I will make the status 404 because that recipe is not present, not found in database. That id is not present. I will pass one message. Let's say simply error. Now we go back and test our API. I will change the method. This is our put method. Then we will change this. Let's say 40 minutes. Then ingredients, I will remove some ingredients. Then instructions, I will remove some text from instruction. and also rename this title Matar Paneer. We will say Matar Spicy Paneer, and then we have this ID. So first I will get this. I will run the get API. Here we have this Matar Paneer. I will copy this ID and paste it here. Now we will select the put method, click on send. Here you can see the data is updated. Now if this is our ID, I will select the get method. Here you can see this Matar Spicy Paneer, this item, recipe item is updated. So in this video we have create our Express server, connect our application to the MongoDB. Then we have seen the schema, how we can create the APIs. So in next video we will see how we can connect our backend to our front end application. We will use create the front end application. I am using the React for front end. So let's see in next video. And if you like this video, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Imaginary Engineering. Thank you for watching.